right? It's nothing to do with organizer, any other, any advanced privileges I'm giving you just for the recording.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so anyways, so no doubts. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the data set. Okay, are you all able to hear me very clearly, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I
Yes.
don't know about you.
Okay, cool. So when can we use any system? I mean, any like for example, flat file or target data, I mean database or any data set or any XML or XLS, anything. When can we use it as a source? I mean, what is the first priority that when can we use that particular thing as a source?
When we need to retrieve the data.
No, that's fine. I mean, yes, we need to use that one as a source when we want to retrieve the data from that particular thing. But before we take it as a source, what exactly that file has to be there? I mean, what exactly it has to be done? Are you getting my point? Did you understood my question? So
Yes,
before you take some file, okay, for example, abc.txt, it is a file, okay. Before you consider it as a source, what exactly that file has to be there? I mean, whether the file existence has to be there or whether the file existence is not required, only the file name is required. What is exactly required there?
File existence is required.
File existence is required, right? That means first of all that file has to be created by someone, then only you can use it as a source.
yes, sir.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So even if you go with the tables, so someone has to create the tables, then only you can take it as a source. So in the similar fashion, if I want to use the data set as a source or the flat file as a source, what I need to do? What I need to do? We need to create a file or we need to create a data set.
Yes.
Okay, but creating a flat file can be done outside the data stage. Yes or no?
Yes.
Why? Any reason? I mean, I have told you the reason, but I'm just asking you why. Creating a flat file is possible outside the data stage. Why? But why not with the data set? Any small guess?
The outside file is one file. You can use it for the whole database.
No, no,
Then
no,
you
no.
can.
I'm saying creating the file is possible, but creating the data set is not possible outside the data stage.
Right.
Why?
Because that file can be used for different sources.
No, but even data set can be used for different sources.
No, if we create file outside the data set, then it can be acceptable by other sources as well. But if you create in this will access only for the data stage.
That is one thing, but why I cannot create it? That's the reason. I mean, that's a different. Okay, that's one of the point. Okay, that's the last point I can say. But what is the first point? That I cannot create a data set where I can create a flat file very easily. Come on. Because data set, you don't know how the data will be located. Because the data file path is present in the configuration file, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know the naming convention of the data file. Secondly, the data will be presented in the binary format. You cannot read outside the data stage. Then how can you write it down? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So data set is tightly coupled with configuration file. Okay, so whenever we have a data set, the configuration file will come into the picture, because data set creates two files. One, see guys, I am repeating this again. Okay, Data set creates two files. One is the descriptor file and another one is the data file. So descriptor file is nothing but control file as well. Okay. So the descriptor file extension would be .ds, and data file extension we are not sure because we don't have the control of creating the data file. Who will be creating the data file? Who will be creating the data file? Who has the control?
Admin.
No.
No,
Configuration file. Configuration file, right?
yes.
Because configuration file is holding the data file path, right?
Yes.
So configuration file is the one who creates automatically the data file. And the naming convention and all you are not aware of how the naming convention will go and start, right?
Yes.
So we have control only to the data set. Descriptor file. Sorry. We have control only to the descriptor file because that's the only file we create.
Okay.
And what exactly the descriptor file contains?
Path.
The path to the data file.
Yes.
So the descriptor file will have the link, the path link to the data file. So whenever you access the descriptor file, it will go and fetch the data files and merge all those data files and give you the data as an output. And when you write down the data, so you are not writing down the data into the descriptor file. The data will be present in the data file itself. So the descriptor file is just holding the path to the descriptor, data file. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
So let me show you very fast how to create the data set and how can we use the data set as a source. So when I want to use the data set as a source, I should create the data set first, right?
Yes.
Yes. So let's go and create a job. So go to the jobs. Does someone wants to volunteer?
Not me, sir. I got it.
No. Someone wants to do the job? Anyone is interested? No one. So new parallel job, control S, data set. Okay. So the first thing which I want is to drag the table as a source. So go to the Oracle connector, click on this with the help of right link, drag the link. Now double click. So you want to provide these details. So what you need to do, press OK, go to here, get the parameters, add environmental variable, come down, shall I leave it like this?
No.
What shall you do?
It's project F.
Absolutely fantastic. Is it is it only for the administrator variable I need to do, or only or for the local variable also can I keep $prosdef?
No.
Right. So it's only for the administrator variables, right?
Yes.
See, these are all very case sensitive. You cannot write capital letters or all something because with the same name only it is present in the administrator. So it's very case sensitive. If you are not sure whether you have written right or wrong, click on here and remember the name schema with small letters. So I have written in all the small letters. Okay. Now I need to clear it because I have given the parameter, right? So just clear it, and at a single time itself I have to write it down. Okay, now I am taking EMP table. So is it done? Can I press OK?
No.
Why? What is the next step I need to do?
Columns.
Exactly. So go to the columns tab. So I want all the columns. So already Scott underscore EMP is already there. So just get it. Press OK. Okay. Now get the data set. Where the data set will be present? Under the files. So go to the data set, drag it, connect it. Now, when you drag and connect the data set, double click and you are expecting something. So the file path and all you need to give. So go to the folder, Control C, copy paste, slash, new data set. So extension should be .ds. So what is this file? Nasir, what is this file? Is this dataset descriptor or dataset data file?
It's a dataset descriptor.
Exactly, it's a dataset descriptor. So what is the other name of this descriptor? Control file. Okay?
Okay.
The other name is the control file. You can see it here.
Okay.
Okay? So this is the only the descriptor file, which is, so is it gonna store the data or is it gonna store the path?
It's gonna store the path.
Right. Which path?
The path for the data file.
Okay. Who is going to create the data file?
The data file already exists.
No. How the data file will exist? So someone has to create it, right?
Right, right.
Who is gonna create it?
The
Configuration file. Why the configuration file is gonna create it? Because the configuration file holds the path of the data file. Right?
Right.
Yes.
Are you understanding or is something that just for the namesake you are saying it right?
No, we get it.
You got it, right?
Yes.
So see all the columns have come up automatically. You no need to do because when you drag and link, so the immediate stage columns will be populated to the next stage. No need to drag anything. Now you as I'm saying configuration file will hold everything. So go to the configuration, go to the default.apt. Now this is the path of the data file. So which the configuration file is holding. Please check. Okay. So don't confuse. Now I'm executing, compiling. So compilation is done. Now I'm executing. So let's go and see. This is the path. What it is going to create? It is going to create the new dataset descriptor file only. Okay. Now I'm going to the path of the datasets. So new dataset dot ds dot ravana, all this stuff it has got created. Why 2 it has created? Nasim, why 2 has created?
I don't know, sir. Sorry.
Because of the 2 node configuration. Okay. In the configuration, there are 2 nodes, right? Node 1, node 2. Because of this, it has created 2 files. If there are 4 nodes, then it will create 4 files. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now I will use this data set as a source. Okay. So let me use it as a source. So how would you know how you want to use it as a source? Can I delete this? Okay, let me create another job. So if you want to create another job, go to this thing, new parallel job. So first save it, DS source. Okay. Now the data set as a source. Now when you are using data set as a source, first what you need to do, click on this and write, with the help of right click, drag a link. Now double click. Now what is the file name you will be using? When you are using it as a source, what?
The data.
What file name you will use?
The DS.
So what is that? What is the DS file name?
Data.
Is it data file or descriptor file?
It's a data set file.
No. Who is that?
No, sir.
Nasir. So data set creates two files, right?
Right.
Now when you are saying data set file, which file? Is it the descriptor file or is it the data file? What is the file name? I need to use it as a source.
This will be the descriptor file since it's a source.
Exactly. Since it is not like a source, because the data file you cannot keep it, because the data file is something which is very weird. Can you see it?
No, you said it's in binary.
It's in binary, but can you keep this file and read it?
No.
How would you read? Because you need to keep two files, right?
Right.
Are you able to see two files?
Yes.
So how can you keep two files in a single path? You can't keep it, right?
Right.
And moreover, you don't know, this naming convention is very weird. Can you see 188 all this stuff? Because this is something which created by the configuration file. You don't have control over it. So you have control only to the descriptor file. Now, so this is the path which you need to use. Understood?
Yes.
So you need to write down only the descriptor file name. So if you write down the descriptor file name, the data will be read from the data files, because descriptor file holds the path to the data file. Clear, Nasim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so just go and check again the new dataset.ds, new dataset.ds. Absolutely fine. Now coming to the columns. So how would you write down the columns? How would you write it down?
You gotta click on the runtime column of propagation, I think.
No. For the dataset it won't.
Okay.
Okay. Runtime column propagation is only for the flat files and the tables, not for the datasets. Okay. Now that's fine. But I want the columns. Okay, let's leave it there. Runtime column propagation, it's not applicable. Now how about the columns? Come on guys, put something. I mean, it's not something related to any technology or something. It's just little bit of sense, because you are using it as a source. So somewhere it has been created, right? So this way, in this I have created. So use this to columns. I need to use these columns. So either you write it down manually, or you can save this column definition. Save this and press OK. And where do you want to save? Put it something and save here. So DS link 2 got saved. Now go back, double click, come to the columns, click on the load. Now DS link 2 will be available. Understood?
Yes.
So whenever you want the dataset columns, so already the dataset has been created somewhere, right? See, if you want to use something as a source, it has to be created somewhere. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So the data set is already been created. So what you need to do, go to the data set, check what all the columns are there. If there are only 2 and 3 columns, you can write it down manually. If there are hundreds of columns, you cannot write it down. Save the column definition and load it when you are using it as a source. So click on this, press OK. Now, if you want all the columns, you can press OK. If you don't want, just write like this, and what all the columns you want, just select it and put it like this.
Like
Clear?
drag and drop.
No, it's not drag and drop. These are arrows.
Okay.
Okay. So if you click all, this one will remove everything. If you click like this, all will come. If you want only selected columns, you can just add columns. This is for all columns. Okay. So I can read all the columns, or I can just select 4 columns. So the data set will read only the 4 columns. So just press OK. I will read only the 4 columns. Then press OK. Now let me create the flat file. So come to the flat file, connect the flat file. So as soon as you connect the flat file, double click and give the path. You need to give the path. So go here, slash, give the flat file name, file1.txt. So after that, what we need to do? Is it done? So once the properties have been set, is it done? Shall I close it? So go to the partitioning. So every tab you need to check. So go to the partitioning tab. Is there anything to do? Nothing. Go to the format tab. Is there anything? Okay, just check. Okay, the field default, it is saying delimiter is equal to comma. Okay, the delimiter will be separated by comma. So do I need to put a delimiter? What delimiter I want? Whether I want comma or pipe. Let's say I want pipe. Only do I want quotes? No. Then remove this. Right click and remove. Now let's see. Go to the columns. Is there any S? Okay, there are some S columns are coming. Oh, then what I need to do? Go to the format. Go to the field defaults. Click on the null field value and keep it as single quote, single quote. Whenever you see in the columns tab there are nullables S, then go to the format, null field value, keep it as a single quote, single quote. That's what you need to do. Then press OK. Compile. Guys, without listening the recording once more, you won't understand. So I'm running it. Now see, the data set will read and it will dump into the flat file. Now come to this and see file1 got created and you have got the 4 files with pipe delimiters. So this one is called delimited file. So remember, whenever, so there will be only 2 files. So whenever in the real-time scenarios, there will be only 2 files. One is delimited file and second one is the fixed width file. Okay. So this one, you can see each column is separated with a delimiter. A separator. Delimiter means separator. So that is nothing but pipe. So that is why we call it as a delimited file. Okay. Now whenever you see there is no delimiter, something like this it is there. So this file, this kind of files data, we call it as a fixed width file. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this is a delimiter file. So file 1 got created with pipe. Ayyo, 1 second. పిల్లాల్సింది కదా ఇంకా మంచిగా రాలేదా ఈ నీళ్ళతో నింపేశారా okay so this is what we need to do. We need to create the flat file. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay, now if you want, so whatever we have done, just remember we have used only the descriptor file. Okay, and we have used the columns where we have got, where we created the flat file, only those columns we have used. Okay, and we need to save the table definition, and then we need to use it. Okay, and we can also select our own list of columns which are required. Clear, guys? Okay. Now coming to the flat file. Now let's discuss. So if you see this flat file, I have only 4 columns. Do I have header? Do I have header? No. The header is not there. So if I want header, double click on this flat file and keep this first line is column names, make it as a true. Okay. If you make this column as a true, then you will get the flat file column header. Okay. So just press OK and press OK and compile it, then run it. Okay. Before that, every time you create a file, you keep it as update mode as overwrite. Overwrite means whenever you are creating this file again, the old data will be wiped off and the new data will come. Okay. If you want to append, you can also append the data. That means at the end, it will append it. Okay. So when to use append, when to use overwrite, it's purely the business requirement. So I will just give you an example. For example, Munawar, Rajesh, Naseem, and Sharif. So we 4 are using the files. Okay, we 4 are creating a jobs. We 4 are creating the jobs. Now, but the target file, the target file should be with the name abc.txt. Okay, the target file name should be abc.txt only. And the requirement says, first, Rajesh data should be present. Second, Naseem data. Third, Munawar data. Fourth, Sharif data. So this is the order, it should be present in the abc.txt. Then what will I do? Under sequence job, I will align it. First Rajesh, then Naseem, then Munawar, then Sharif. Okay, so this is how I will arrange it in the sequence. Now what will I do? In the Rajesh file, in the Rajesh job, I will keep the file as overwrite. So which means that first which job is running? Rajesh job is running. So whenever Rajesh job is running, I will keep the file as overwrite, which means that I will keep it like this, because beginning with the Rajesh job itself, the data has to be present at the top, so the file has to be created freshly, right? So I will keep it as a overwrite. Now coming to Naseem job and Munawar job and Sharif job, I will keep the file as append mode. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Append mode for the same file name abc.txt. Guys, this is plain English only, nothing, no concepts, nothing. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So beginning itself I will keep it as an overwrite, and the rest all I will keep it as an append, because the file is only the abc.txt and the data which it requires is the first the Rajesh job data, then the Naseem job, then the Munawar job and the Sharif job. So these are the data which needs to be present, so then I will keep it as an overwrite. If by chance if you keep somewhere at overwrite, then the previous data it will be lapsed, it will be wiped off, and the new data will come up. So everything will be messed up. So append and overwrite is very, very important, and it's purely on the business requirement. Okay, and if you are creating a single job, only a single job, which is creating a file, and here you always keep overwrite. No need of keeping it as a append, because you want a new data should come. That's all. The file should have only the new data. There shouldn't be any old data and previous data. So no need of keeping append. I will always keep it as a override. Understood, guys, with the concept of override and append?
Yes.
Yes.
But exactly, I don't know how. You gave us example, but I'm not sure exactly. You're saying like it depends on the business requirements, sir. But how do you determine that like we should append or override? Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. The business requirement said I want only one target file.
mm-hmm.
And they said the chunk of data should be first present by the Rajesh, and then the Nasim, and then Munawar, and then Sharif. That's how they have said.
Okay, that's the business requirement then. Right.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Now you need to design the job. Now you need to design the job. How would you design the job? That's what I said.
Okay.
So in the beginning, in the Rajesh, I will keep the flat file as override. So I am creating the flat file and I am dumping my data. Okay. Now when it comes to the Nasim, he should not remove my data because the flat file at the end it requires my data is also required. So Nasim should not remove. So Nasim, what he has to do is Nasim has to update or append my data. So Nasim will keep the flat file mode as append. And when it comes to the Munawar also does not remove, I mean he should not remove the data of Nasim and Rajesh. He should also append the data. So he will also append it. And when it comes to the Sharif, it's the same. Again append it. Clear?
So basically this sequence will only be run once, right?
What?
This sequence will only be compiled once, means we will only run it once. Because if we try to run it the second time, then again, when Rajesh turn comes first, all the data will overwrite, right?
Right, absolutely. Because you don't run it in a single date wise, you will run it in a daily basis. No job will be triggered twice unless and until there is something business requirement. Okay. So
Okay.
every job will be triggered in a daily basis only once. So for example, today you have done some transactions of 1,000 rupees. Okay. Tomorrow it is not necessary that you have done a transaction of 1,000 rupees. And when it comes to the tomorrow, your date and everything got changed, right?
Right.
So why would I need yesterday's transaction? I want today's transaction.
Okay.
Yesterday's transaction, the flat file has got created.
So before the sequences run again, they will rename the first file.
Right.
The one which was
The first
created
file will remain. The first file either it will remain or it will be moved to some other location.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The files will be created on a daily basis. So suppose if you go and see on the 10th day, all 10 files will be present.
Okay.
Okay. I hope I made it clear, right?
Yes.
So now let's run it. So it triggered. So now let's go and see. Did we got the header?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So that's the reason to get the header. Okay. Now we have different stuff. Now come to these options and see. Okay, we'll discuss about the filter after later on, and we'll discuss about the schema file also later. Okay, is there any rejections happening? If there is any rejections happening, you can keep it as a continue, and you can also you can keep it as an output and you can drag it. Okay, so what I mean to say is, so there are 4 or 3 options: continue, fail and output, the reject mode. So which means that a sequential file stage can accept only one link, either an output or an input. It cannot have two links. So each stage, okay, suppose if you are using a sequential file stage, suppose if you are using a sequential file stage as a source, you can drag only one link, that's all. You cannot drag another link. See, when you are dragging another link, so this will be in a dotted format. So if you try to drag another link, the source stage cannot support any more output links. Understood?
Okay.
So it will accept only one
One
straight link and one dotted link. This dotted link is nothing but the reject link. So in the similar fashion, if you go to the sequential file here, you can drag another link out of this. So that will be only the rejected link, because one link has come into this. One link is already got attached. So only other link you can drag it is a reject link. So reject link means, so whenever this file is not able to accept the data,
Okay.
for example, you have given the column name employee number as decimal, okay, but you are trying to insert some varchar fields in the employee number, okay, or some junk characters are coming in the employee number, so which the file is not able to accept that particular record. Are you able to understand what do you mean by reject?
Yeah, I'm trying to clear the concept. I was thinking something.
No, just in a, don't take it into a, technology concept, just in a general terms. So when you say I reject it, when you say that I reject it,
But I don't accept it.
right, whenever you are not accepting it, right? So think the same concept in the flat file. So when the flat file cannot accept it,
It's going to reject.
okay, sorry,
When it's not accept, then it's going to reject.
no, that's fine. No, see, that's the idea. Whenever it is not going to accept, it should reject. Okay. Now, when it will not accept, so for example, I have given you a file, and why did you not accept it? There should be some criteria, right? There should be some parameters that you might be checking, and you are not accepting it, right?
Yes.
But without no reason, you cannot accept it. You can't say that I didn't like this person, I'm not accepting it. No, it won't happen, right?
Yes.
So you will check some parameters, and if those parameters are not met, then you will not accept it. So the same thing, the flat file will also check whether the data which is coming from the source, is it in an acceptable mode or not. If it is in an acceptable mode, it will accept. If it is not in an acceptable mode, then it will come here and it will check what is the reject mode. Is that reject mode is continue, then it will continue. There will be no breaks in the job. There will be no aborts in the job. The job will continue. Those records which is not able to accept, it will just reject it and continue. Okay. You won't be able to see the rejections of the data. You won't be able to see. Only where you will be able to see here is, so you see, come to the run director. In the log, you will just observe here, instead of the 0 rejected, you will just see 4 to 5 rows got rejected. That's how it will show. That's all it will show whenever you keep reject mode as continue.
Okay, I kind of got it. So basically, like if it's not, the criteria is not matching, the job will continue, but it will reject all the non-matched criteria.
Right, it will reject the non-matched criteria. But if you want to see what are all the non-matched records, you won't be able to see.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So suppose I have given you 10 files. Okay, and in the 10 files you have selected only 6 and 4 rejected. Okay, now all those 4 files you have burned them. or you teared them and you thrown somewhere. Now how will I know what are the 4 rejected files? Right?
Yes.
I won't be knowing unless and until you give those 4. I won't be knowing, right? So the same way here also, unless and until you store it somewhere, you can't capture it. So how to store it? So this is the way you need to store it. So if you keep reject mode as continue, it will continue. That's all. It will not store anywhere. But if you want to store, then see, read this output to send. So keep it as an output. Keep it as an output and drag a link, another link, and connect a file. Okay.
But the job, if we keep it output, the job will still continue, right? And it'll keep
Right.
the
The
log.
job will still continue, but it will keep the log of the rejected records.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
But if you keep it as a fail, what will happen?
To stop right there when
If
there is
any
a,
record and if any row is rejected, stop the job. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So if you want to make the success of the job, either you keep it as a continue or output, and if you really want to know the records, what all the records got rejected, then you keep it as a output, and if you are least bothered about the rejected records, then you keep it as a continue. Clear, guys?
Yes.
yes. Where do you
And when
get where do you give the path for the output file?
Where do you get the?
Where do you give the path for the output file?
So whenever, that's what that's my next point. Whenever you keep it as an output, remember you need to drag a link and you need to give the flat file because that is a rejected file. Whenever you are keeping the reject mode as output, you need to drag a link and you need to give as a flat file. Now from here, this is the path which you need to give. So this is the path which you need to give. So this path is nothing but the rejected file path. Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
But if you are keeping it as a continue and if you are still dragging a link, then still dragging a link and giving the flat file name path something, then when you are compiling, it will throw an error saying that you cannot compile it. Okay. So C colon slash some path you just give it. Okay, something I'll just write it down. So when I try to compile, so it is saying reject is not allowed for this property. Clear? Understood, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what you need to do it. So just remove this now. Now you compile, it will compile because you kept it as a continue. Okay. Now come to this format tab. Okay. So the final delimiter is nothing but this is the final delimiter. Okay. The record level and the delimiter. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now whenever you say the field delimiter, so that is in between the fields, whatever the fields, that is the delimiter. Okay. So whenever there are any nulls value, so keep the null field value is equal to single quote single quote. So null field value is equal to single quote whenever you see the columns are yes. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how you have used the flat file as a target. This is a target flat file, right or wrong?
Yes.
This is a target flat file. Okay. So you understood about the target flat file. Now in the next class we'll see about the flat file as a source. Okay.
All right.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Raj,
There's
I
a
have
lot
a
of
question.
information we have to go through.
Sorry?
There's a lot of information we have to go through.
Right. Okay,
Raj,
guys.
Raj, I have a
Yep.
question.
Yeah.
Now this before the dataset file, you have created a parallel job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we use the link to that and create this sequential
This
file?
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now from the sequential file, we can create a link
Mm-hmm.
and create dataset file.
Yeah. The path of, see, you keep it as a reject, okay? You keep the reject mode as output, okay? See, that's what I said, right? From the sequential file, you can drag only 2 links,
Okay.
okay? So one you have already attached.
Mm-hmm.
One is already been attached. That means one link got done.
Yes.
And only one link you can drag.
Okay.
So that is only the rejected link. Okay. Now for this rejected, either you want to keep a table or you want to keep a flat file or you want to keep a data set. It's up to you.
Okay.
No one is restricting what to use.
Understand.
But if you use a flat file, it will be conveniently used by all the people, because flat file will not have any credentials access or will not be controlled by someone.
Okay.
But if you use a table, then I cannot access the table because I need to get the credentials for that particular database and then I need to access it. So again, I am dependent on you. If I use a data set, then through only the data stage itself I can access it, right?
Okay.
So that's the reason reject files will always be the flat files. Clear the concept?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay guys, take care.
Thank you very
See you
much.
tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you,
Yep.
sir.